All right, so let's talk about how you can create your own walkSTEM experience. My team member, Mary, who is on this call, and I have created very recently, given the COVID pandemic, detailed teacher guides with specific discussion questions, suggested videos to watch, etc. 4 versions of these kind of 12 to 14 page, I think they are PDFs, that would be appropriate for remote learning or in classroom, and then also appropriate for elementary or middle and high school level. So in other words, we've gone through all our video library and selected videos that we think would be most appropriate. So create your own walkSTEM. You can get to it on our website, as you can see here. When you go to that page, if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see these colorful tiles. The bulk of the content is the same. The introduction to each of these different groups that I hope that this content will serve varies. So in your case, I assume for most of you, we'll be clicking on schools or after school groups if you're interested in that. Some definitions. So we're going to be talking about walkSTEM tours that you create. Each walkSTEM tour consists of a minimum of 3 stops. A stop is any element in the real world. And each stop must meet these 3 criteria. It must be real world based, inquiry based, and observation based. So the very first part and the most important part is to notice. So whatever the spaces that you've decided you wanted your walkSTEM tour. I've conducted walkSTEM tours over the past few months in my backyard. It could be a park, it could be a strip mall. It really doesn't matter where. It could be whatever room you're sitting in right now. But really notice whether the space is familiar or unfamiliar. Make no assumptions. And there's a danger of us all making assumptions as human, particularly if it is a very familiar space. Pretend you've just landed here from outer space and look at that space. Next part is question. So this is the inquiry basis. And again, here's the hardest part, is the second bullet and the third. So we've been working with several different teachers in different settings, in different grade levels. It's really, really hard to not force the STEM connections and to not make judgments. I get it. We're all teachers. We kind of very quickly want to guide. But at this point, you want to have an open brainstorm. So noticing and questioning. So let's say I've decided that I want to have this beautiful tree that's in my backyard as a walkSTEM stop in my tour of my backyard. So I would spend some time recording my observations, making no assumptions about what the tree is all about. And then I would go ahead and record all my questions. And many of my questions may not seem to be math or science or STEM questions. I might just wonder things like, well, why is the leaf green? Why are there these, brown stripes on the leaves? I might wonder things like, why does the tree have this strange shape? You name it. I use the word curate, meaning that you decide which questions will really lend to the best experience for you, for whatever reason. You can, as teachers, decide what constraints you want. You want to make sure that you have questions that relate to mathematical functions. You want to make sure you have questions that relate to, estimating. You can determine what constraints you want to put, just like any other design framework. That is up to, what the purpose is of this exercise. Lastly, it's the fun part, design. Okay, now you are going to decide, okay, is this going to be a video that you're creating? Is it going to be a live experience? And design your experience using the questions you've developed. You'll see this flowchart on the talkSTEM website. I've put over here how you can get there. You can click on the walkSTEM tab, create your own walkSTEM, and then and then click on, in your case, schools, and then you will have access to all of this content. So this framework with the title Design a walkSTEM Stop is at the level of a single stop, in my case, that tree. Maybe in my backyard, I decided to focus on that oak tree. I decided to focus on some artwork that I have there, and I decided to focus on a bench. That could be 3 stops that I decided to focus on in my backyard. And for each of those stops, I will have to go through these processes. So all our Create Your Own walkSTEM contributions from our growing community are put in this third category in our YouTube channel. So we have covered taking a virtual trip and creating your own walkSTEM. There's one last piece of creating your own that's really the shortest. It's called #STEMLens. Not into a whole PBL unit that takes, several days or a week or 2 weeks, depending on how you want to do it. Well, then you might be interested in #STEMLens. This is an abbreviated way for students and teachers to make explicit connections to the real world. Take a photo. You can take a short video too. Mark up the image, on your smartphone and share it. And we invite anybody and everybody to do this and use this hashtag. Here are some of our examples. Meet my dog. And here she was very happy seeing me and her tail was wagging. I probably should have done a video. But I took that photo and you can see my questions. I'm thinking about what is the maximum angle that her tail makes when it's wagging? It would be an interesting study. And by the way, does it move only in, a single plane or also sort of three-dimensionally? In other words, is there any sort of rotational element? We don't have much time to spend on this, but again, I'd like you and yourselves, and certainly feel free to email me to reflect on these big questions that we talked about. How would all of this help your students grow their STEM mindsets, build a STEM identity, foster a sense of belonging in STEM? Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you will email me with any further questions. Have a great day, everybody.